83% of you guys are not subscribed. Subscribing, clicking that like button, and commenting all help me out a lot in doing what I really want to do. Thank you guys so much for all your support. What is going on, guys? Rogue TCG here bringing another Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG deck profile. I've been having a lot of fun with the Ragnaraika stuff, and I would like to bring a new version of the list to your guys' attention. Here is Ogdoatic Ragnaraika. Has a lot of really cool intricacies and a lot of neat different points of interaction that the other versions of Ragnaraika don't really access. So I believe this deck is actually really cool. I'm not sure if it's more or less powerful than the other builds. However, it is definitely different. That's definitely something that's guaranteed. But that's enough yapping for me. Let's get to the profile, go down the list, and let me tell you why I think this deck is pretty fucking cool. First off, we're on triple Naoya. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I got triple Naoya. You can send from the hand to the grave to send a light reptile from your deck to the grave. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add one Ogdoadic spell trap from your deck to your hand. You can always each effect of Naoya, the Ogdoadic remnant, once per turn. Really good stuff. Lets us get to Ogdoadic Daybreak, probably one of the best spells in this entire deck, just being able to spam out a million link material. Or Ogdoadic Water Lily, if we already have the Daybreak, can get us to some pretty cool end boards. We're on triple Nunu, the Ogdoadic Remnant. You can send this from your hand to the grave to send a Dark Reptile from your deck to the grave. If you control no monsters or you control an Ogdoadic, you can special this card from your graveyard, but banish when it leaves the field. You can't special summon monsters except for reptiles while this card is face up. And that effect of Nunu are both once per turn. This is one of the mini locks this deck does. Some of the Ogdoadic stuff does lock you into reptiles specifically. Nunu's a little bit less egregious than one of the other ones, where it just says walls based up on the field were locked into reptiles, allowing us to go into either, like, you know, Shock Trooper, Slicer Zerol. You even go into something like Chain Coils or Echidna. So we have options to get it off field. Since it's also a 4, we could go to King of the Fairlimps. That's another option for us, or we could get it off from Melusine. So there are lots of various options we have for making that lock disappear. We are on one Curse, the Ogdoadic Light. I'm not sure if I'm saying that one right. If this card's in your grave, you can tribute one monster, special summon this card, then your opponent can special summon monsters from their graveyard. One monster from their graveyard, but negates effects. If this card is special summoned, you can target one level 4 or lower Ogdoadic in your graveyard and special summon it, but banish it leaves the field. You lose each effect of Curse, the Ogdoadic Light, once per turn. So what we want to be doing is we want to go like Nunu, send Naoya, or no, the other way around, we can go Naoya, send Nunu. Find some way to get Curse into the graveyard, tribute a monster, bring it back, and then bring back the Naoya. We can always tribute that Nunu that's face on field to get rid of that reptile lock as well, although it will get banished. And then we can special summon the Naoya, get the Daybreak, and once we get to that, you'll see why that's pretty damn good. For our non-Ogdoadics, we're on one Reptilian Codal. If you control a Dark Reptile, we can special from our hand. And it's just a level 4 tuner. It's searchable, and it has some effect with 0 attack, which can come up if we have our Echidna out. We're on one Serpentine Princess. We're playing King of the Fairlimps, and sometimes we don't use our normal summon, and it works super well with the Ragnas, so we are just playing it as a one-of. And then one Knight Sword Serpent. If this card's sent to the graveyard by card effect, we can special it, but banish it leaves the field. It's just a way to get a free 4 on board, and it combos pretty well with other things if we just need an extra extender, either for an Xyz or for a Synchro, or for a Link. This can fill any of those requirements, which is really kind of key now. Next, let's go to our Ogdoadic spells and traps, or Ogdoadic adjacent spell traps. We're on double Water Lily. It's pretty much a Foolish for a reptile, and then if we have 5 or more reptiles at the time of Foolish, we get to reborn one, so pretty damn decent. We're on 2 Ogdoadic Daybreak. This is a really strong card. Tribute 1 reptile. For every 2 levels that tributed monster had on field, you get a token. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one of your banished reptiles, shuffle it into the deck, and then you can send a reptile from your deck to your graveyard. You can use each effect of Daybreak once per turn, so it even lets you get back that Nunu that gets banished if we do choose to tribute it with a Curse. And if we do choose to tribute the Curse, it is an 8, so that means we get 4 tokens in order to link off and do whatever. And if we notice, none of the Ragnaraikas say they need effect monsters or non-token monsters or whatever. So basically it's like a free soul charge for like effectless monsters, I guess. But it is a way to get a million link material on the field, and it's really damn good. And it's like the best thing this deck is really good at doing. And what's a good use for all those materials? To go into something like Zerol in order to get Plant Pollutant, which we're going to be covering shortly. We're on triple Snake Rain. Discard a card, send 4 reptiles from your deck to the graveyard. Yeah, this is like the best card in the entire deck, like bar none. That's why I didn't mention that about Daybreak. Snake Rain is. Sure, if it gets ashed, like, you're gonna cry, but if that gets ashed, that means they can't ash other things like King, like Diablantis. It means they have less options. You have to worry about less if they ash early on. And also, Snake Rain is now once per turn, so if we open 2, and sometimes we can just get our play started like that. And then our last Ogdoatic adjacent card is Planet Pollutant Virus, tributing an alien, destroy all face-up monsters without a counter your opponent controls. Until the end of your opponent's 3rd turn after its activation, place an A counter on each monster they summon. So each monster on summon gets an A counter that they control. And if it just board wipes them the first time you activate it, absolutely nuts. What we want to be doing is we want to get Zerol out on the field. This needs 2+ reptiles, like 3. On summon, you get to add a card that can place A counter. So this just straight up adds the Planet Pollutant Virus. Zerol says anything with an A counter on it is swapped to defense position. It can't activate their effects. Really cool. Really epic and really intuitive. So what we want to be doing is essentially manufacturing a game state where you have Zerol on field, Alien Shock Trooper M frame on field, and Plant Pollutant Virus in the back row. We contribute the M frame to put a counter on everything. And then they're all pretty much all negated, plus any other thing that we have on board as well. But that's it for our Ogdoatic, like alien stuff in the main deck. Now let's get on to our Ragnaraikas. We're on triple Evil Seed. You can special it by sending an insect, plant, or reptile from our hand to the graveyard. You can only summon it once that way. If it's normal or special, we can add to our hand 2 different Ragnaraika cards that are banished or in our deck, except for itself, and then banish 1 card from our hand, and then we can't special for the rest of the turn, except for insect, plants, or reptiles. That last clause, not an issue. This entire deck is built to play around that clause. However, its effect is really, really strong. Adding 2 and then banishing 1, sure. Easy peasy decision. We're on 2 Samurai Beetle. We can special it from our hand by placing one of our banished insect, plants, or reptiles on the bottom of our main deck. We can only summon Beetle once per turn that way. If it's sent to the graveyard as material for a Ragnaraika link, we can target one level 4 or lower insect, plant, or reptile in our graveyard and just bring it out for free. A great way to bring that Nauya back from the graveyard. And then we're on 2 Ragnaraika Armored Lizard. We're a reptile-focused deck, so we're just going to be playing 2 of this one. We can special from our hand by banishing an insect, plant, or reptile from our graveyard. We can special summon 1 of this guy once per turn that way. We can pitch an insect, plant, or reptile, target a face a monster on the field except for itself, and bounce it to hand. Not the worst effect on field, being able to remove problematic cards. However, that's not typically going to be frequently used. However, it is a Dark Reptile level 4, which fulfills the requirements for King of the Feral Imps being a level 4. Fulfills the requirements of Reptilian Codal being the Dark Reptile level 4 in order to make something like Diablantis or Melusine. And then our last Ragnaraika cards, we're on Triple Bloom. It's a continuous spell. Insect, plants, and reptiles on the field gain 300 attack and defense. Also, all other monsters lose 300 attack and defense. During our main phase, we can activate one of the effects, either adding a Ragnaraika monster from our deck to our hand, then pitching a card, or special summoning a Ragnaraika monster from our hand, graveyard, or banishment in defense position. Both of those effects are really good. Being able to get a free material back is great, especially from banishment, so we can recycle those straight into our graveyard. Or being able to add a card from deck to hand at a slight cost of pitching a card. In this deck, pitching a card isn't necessarily the worst thing, because all our cards kind of like being in our graveyard, so not the worst. So we are just playing 3 of it, because it is a searcher for Evil Seed. We are on 1 Ragnaraika Hunting Dance. This is searchable with a Link monster. It's basically Icarus attack sometimes. Target cards your opponent controls up to the number of different monster types amongst Link monsters you control that are insect, plants, or reptiles. Destroy them. With face-up insect, plant, or reptile monster you control is destroy a battle or card effect while this card's in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there. You can banish this card, target 1 monster your opponent controls, and then destroy it. You can use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. Insane. It's like a weird version of Icarus attack. Sure, it targets the cards. Sure, sometimes it'll only pop 1 or 2, but sometimes it'll pop 3. And once you get that 3 mark, then you're golden. But that's it for our main deck, like engine cards. We have about 11 non-engine cards, so let's briefly go over those. We're on double triple tactics talents, 1 called by the grave. Those are our 3 hand trap mitigation tools. We're on triple Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, double effect Veiler, and triple infinite impermanence. We're kind of rocking with low hand trap count at 8. However, we're not running with super low at being 0, so that's something. But that's it for the main deck, a nice solid 40. Not super expensive in the main deck at 128. However, the Ragnaraika cards are currently spiking up just because there's a lot of attention at them at the moment. So I'd recommend waiting for a reprint, or if you're really interested in the deck, waiting for these cards to just drop a little bit lower before you look to pick them up. Now let's go on to our extra. Extra deck is very cheap, so I'd recommend picking up the extra deck while you still can. We're on double Ragnaraika, Skeletal Soldier. It needs 2+ monsters, including insect, plant, or reptile. You can target one Ragnaraika monster in your graveyard, special summon in defense position. If this card's in your graveyard, you can special summon. You can target one insect, plant, or reptile you control, place it on the bottom of the deck, and if you do special summon this card, you can only use the effect of Skeletal Soldier once per turn. Also, you can't special summon monsters in turn you activate either of these cards' effects, except for insect, plant, or reptiles. It's a big mouthful of a card, however, it only technically has one real effect on it, being able to bring back a Ragnaraika. However, all the Ragnaraika Link monsters are going to have that secondary effect in order to return a card to the bottom of the deck in order to special summon itself from the graveyard. Now, let's take a good look at Serpentine Princess. I know I very briefly glossed over it. If this face-up card is returned from the field to the deck, select and special summon one level 3 or lower monster from your deck to your side of the field, then shuffle your deck. Now, this card is nuts. It works pretty much exclusively with the Ragnaraikas. Not sure if it was that by design, but it just happens to work that way. It is a reptile, so it's searchable with King of the Feral Imps. Our Ogdoadics don't really use our normal summon to do the combo, and can make King of the Feral Imps to then normal summon the Serpentine Princess. And then Serpentine Princess can summon, not the Ogdoadics unfortunately, but it can summon the Evil Seed. It can summon the Samurai Beetle. Typically can't summon Ash Blossom because we are locked by that point, but it does summon basically our best 2 cards in our deck. Samurai Beetle basically being able to recur a monster when it's sent to the graveyard, basically replacing itself, and Evil Seed replacing itself by searching 2 cards. So it is sometimes worth it to go through the Serpentine Princess line, however it isn't something we need to do, and sometimes we can just discard it if we draw it for turn. Or draw it in our opening hand with our Evil Seeds add effect or our Bloom effect. So there's ways you can get rid of it. Or even pitching it with Snake Rain. So even drawing like these cards isn't the worst, even if we're not planning on doing them. Same with Night Sword Serpent. If we can send this to the graveyard with Snake Rain, we can go with Snake Rain Night Sword Serpent. That's pretty damn good. Next for our Ragnaraikas, we're on 1 Mantis Monk. On summon, not on summon, on ignition, we can banish 2 insect, plant, or reptiles from our graveyard to add a spell trap that mentions Ragnar. Let me just make sure. No, not spell trap, just trap, which means we can only add Hunting Dance. So, Monk's only purpose is to add the Hunting Dance, so not the worst in the world. We're on double Chain Coils. Typically, you only run 1, however, this is a reptile, so you run 2. 2+ monsters, including insect, plant, or reptile. Your opponent activates a monster effect. Except during the damage step, you can activate this effect. Neither player can activate the effects of monsters in hand this turn. And that's it. And then the secondary effect is that recursion effect, so I'm not going to go over it. But this card is quite strong and can completely hose certain decks. And then our last Ragnaraica in the extra deck is going to be Stag Sovereign. It's a Link 5, same requirements as all the other ones, 2+ insect, plant, or reptiles. If a monster is special summoned from your opponent's deck and or extra deck, except during the damage step, you can destroy 2 monsters on the field, and then it has that recursion effect. So this is like probably the best one you want to be ending on, this plus or the Chain Coil, just because they both have really good interaction effects when your opponent does something. Main issue is they are not very reactionary, or not very proactive in interaction. They're very reactionary in the fact that they pretty much auto-resolve or will trigger, and then that's when you actually interact with them, not your choice of I want to negate this or I want to negate that. You have to wait for your opponent to perform an action in order to interact with them. But that is it for our Ragnaraikas in the extra. We're on 1 Reptilian Echidna. It just needs 2 monsters, including a reptile. It's a good way to get rid of that reptile lock. It does have an effect that does relate to 0 attacks and or reptiles. We are on 1 Alien Shock 2 per M frame. We're not really going to be using its effect to place A counters, although it isn't the worst if we already have Zeril on field and we don't manage to get the pollutant virus off. It's not necessarily the worst. And it is also a quick effect, so let's say, for example, our opponent will imperm our Zeril because they see what we're up to. Ending on an M frame is still interaction because quick effect, we can discard a monster, place A counters equal to its original level on face-up monsters on the field, distributed as you wish, which if we have Zeril on field, will then be swapped to defense position and can't activate their effects. So, not the worst. I briefly went over Zeril. I went over 2 of its effects. It also does have a third effect, where
You can remove 2 A counters from anywhere on the field to immediately activate select resolves to normal summon a reptile. Not necessarily the most relevant, however, it can come up in this deck specifically because we're playing such a high quantity of reptiles, especially for something like Serpentine Princess. We can kind of manufacture a game state where if we've already normal summoned to get to the point where we're at, we can still add it with King of the Feral Imps. Use King of the Feral Imps to make something like M-Frame or Zerol. Go Zerol to add Planet Pollutant, and if not, we can go M-Frame, pitch a card, put counters on something, and then remove counters in order to normal summon the Serpentine Princess. That's something we could potentially do. The rest of our cards are kind of tech cards. We're on one Traptrix Adipus because it can give our cards a lot of attack. Also unaffected by trap cards, so pretty good at pushing through established boards like Labyrinth. One Bengal Lancer just because it's a plant and it's pretty damn decent. We're on double King of the Feral Imps because this is pretty much a rank 4 centric deck that focuses on reptiles, so King of the Feral Imps would be baller in here. One Reptilian Melusine. We are running Reptile Tuner and Reptilian Codal, which is searchable with King of the Feral Imps and can special summon itself, so why not run the Melusine? And one Diablantis the Menacing Mantis is a tuner and non-tuner. If it's synchro summon, can send an insect and or plant monster from our deck to the graveyard up to the number of non-tuners used for this synchro summon. So typically going to be 1, however we can do 2 if we go like Samurai Beetle plus Evil Seed plus Codal, we can go dump 2, which isn't the worst. And if you control the synchro summon card, you can target 1 insect or plant monster you control, treat it as a tuner until end of turn. You can use each effect of Diablantis the Menacing Mantis once per turn. This is a way we can go Diablantis and then also get the Melusine on field. And I know I didn't even mention this effect, so let's go over that. It's a Reptile Tuner and a non-tuner monster. If this card was synchro summoned using only reptile monsters as material, it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. Once per chain, when your opponent activates a monster effect, except during the damage type quick effect, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, change the attack to 0. If the synchro summon card you control is sent to the graveyard by the opponent's card, you can add 1 reptile monster from your deck to your hand. A lot of text. Doesn't really do too much, although sometimes it's a big unkillable asshole if you just make it with 2 reptiles. Like, I don't know, for example, Codal plus Nunu, or Codal plus Naoya, or Codal plus Night Sword Serpent, or Codal plus Armored Lizard. Those all accomplish the exact same thing, and sometimes your opponent just isn't going to read it and not really have a good out. The only deck that can really deal with it no matter what is going to be like Tenpai, swapping it to attack and just punching you really, really hard in your jaw. But that's going to be about it for the deck profile. Please let me know what you think about it. I think it's quite a decent deck. I really like how many different lines it has, all searchable via the extra deck, via like Zerol or via M-Frame or via King of the Feral Imps. I really like decks like that can like basically use the extra deck as a way to tutor stuff out to hand in order to get different engines online. But that's about it for the profile. Please let me know what you think, and I'm gonna be seeing you all later. Bye-bye! Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you wanted to talk to more Yu-Gi-Oh! Players like yourself, I would highly recommend checking out our Discord server. Link is going to be in the description, as well as the QR code on screen. We do talk somewhat frequently about Yu-Gi-Oh! And the current meta, so I would really enjoy to see you there. As well as we do recently now have channel memberships available on our YouTube channel, where we have 3 different tiers. We have Super Supporter at $2 a month, where you get loyalty badges, emojis, guaranteed comment responses, a shout out at the end of every video, as well as access to the members only Discord channel, where you get early sneak peeks at future videos. There is the Giga Supporter at $5 a month, where you have early access to all new videos about a day or 2 before they go up, as well as all the previous offers. And for $15 a month, we do have our final tier, which is going to be Femboy Fanatic. You get a guaranteed customized video every single month, as well as 1 hour of my time. Could be for anything you'd like. You want a duel? Absolutely. You want me to help build a deck? Absolutely. You want to play some Helldivers? Sure. I'll do anything for an hour once a month. But supporting does help me out quite a lot, and it does help me produce all of these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye-bye.